Hey guys, Ben Payne here, and today we're back once again for another video, and this time we are returning to Brighton Q Leisure for the 9th round of the Club 73 Weekend Series. Now, as you can see behind me, it is quite damp and quite wet today, so we're in for a bit of an exciting race. We are taking part in the B final, starting in 4th position, so we're going to see how we can get on. Obviously, we've never driven here in the wet, and the only experience we have at this track was a couple of weeks ago for the last round of the SRK Championship, which, if you haven't seen already, is on my channel, so feel free to go and check that out. I'm really excited for this race. Obviously, as usual, we have the format for this one. It's a 5-minute practice followed by a 30-minute straight race. So we're going to hope that the kart gods shine down on us today through these miserable grey clouds, and we're going to hope that we can put in the best result that we possibly can. Now, this may be my last round of the Club 73 Weekend Series for the year, due to the fact that the dates clash with the final round of the SRK Championship. So we're going to apply our double point system, which is available for one round in throughout the year in this one, and we're going to hope that we can finish as high up the grid as we can. So before we jump into the rest of the footage, I would like to say, if you are new to the channel, can you please hit the subscribe button down below, as it really does help me out. And if you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button as well, as I really do appreciate it. Now, without further ado, we're going to jump into the footage and see how we get on today. So then, guys, we're jumping straight into the racing footage here in this one, because silly old me decided that he wanted to put his wetsuit on whilst everyone else was out having their practice laps. So I had to rush out, only did about 2 or 3 laps of practice, but we're lining up in 3rd place, not 4th place, as someone ahead of us wasn't actually here on time. So we're starting in 3rd, starting on the inside, which obviously, as we saw from SRK, was sort of the key to where you wanted to be. But on this day, I didn't think it was the best decision or best place to be, due to it being so wet and so slippy on the inside line. Now you can see straight away we're getting pressure from everyone on that is behind us. We're getting loaded a lot, and I was just really trying to hold as tight a line as I could, and you can see how much I'm getting hit in the back. And I just wanted to hold that inside line just to ensure that no one could sneak up our inside and take 3rd place off us. I decided from the very beginning that if I was going to start in 3rd place, I was only going to go forward, and if anything, I wasn't going to lose the 3rd position that I was starting in. Now, you can see we've got some horrible conditions here on this day. We had rain all over the lens, all over myself, all over the track, and it was really slippy and quite difficult to get used to. Obviously, as I said, we've only done about 2 or 3 laps of practice as well, trying to put the wetsuit on that we had been given. I forgot mine at home like an absolute melon. So we are coming around here. Obviously, up ahead of us we have Toby McAllister-Brown and we have Mark Puxty. Obviously, Mark is racing us in the Pro category and Toby is in the Clubman Plus category. So in theory, we're not really racing Toby, but any points we can get is going to be a bonus, and any positions he can get or points he can get is going to take them away from our rivals that are around us. Now, behind us we actually had Jack Underdown, who we seem to be having battles with all championship, and he was putting me under a lot of pressure, so I wasn't actually able to go as wide out as I wanted to, in case of him sort of diving down the inside and taking the 3rd place away from me. So you can see that Toby and Mark have opened up a little bit of a gap on us so far, as we are driving a little bit more defensively. We're looking over our shoulder quite a lot, just to ensure that we can keep Jack at bay and hold the position where we are. However, from doing this, I found that I was losing a lot of time to Toby, who is in 2nd place at the moment, and it was beginning to put me a little bit on edge, just from the fact that I knew that behind him there was also a big train of karts that would just really like to take any position off me that they could have. So you can see by going over the curbs, you just unsettle the kart a little bit, and sort of the rear sort of steps out when you do that. I tried to go a little bit quicker through that section of the track there, a little kink in the track. You can see how much oversteer I'm having and just lack of grip on the kart as I'm exiting the corners. There was a lot of wheel spin, and I was having to modulate this with my throttle inputs. But here again, through the S section during practice, I couldn't really understand what the quickest way to get through the corner was. I didn't understand whether to take a shorter line and risk going on the slippy curbs, or whether to take more of a conventional wet line and sort of widen the corner and then just sort of get a better run coming down into the first couple of corners. You can see our fastest lap so far, however, is a 53.159. Not too quick of a lap, but obviously, as I've mentioned, we are driving quite defensively. You can see I'm trying to drive a little bit wider now at this point to get off of the rubbered sections of the track, because obviously where there's rubber laid down, it's just going to be greasy, and you can see how much steering I'm applying through this section of the track, and the car just wasn't turning at all. However, in the background you can see the sunshine is beginning to beam through onto the track and give us some horrible glare in the camera, so I really apologise for the amount of glare and water droplets all over the lens. It's making it quite difficult to see, but however, from this, the track was beginning to dry out. Now, this day was really on and off with the weather. 1 second it was absolutely tipping down, the next it was a little bit of sunshine like this, so I couldn't quite gauge whether a dry line was going to form or if it would just be better to take the wet line. So it was really mixed conditions and quite difficult to actually drive in and remain consistent. Obviously, as the track's evolving every single lap, it's causing you to have to adapt on the fly and really try and use your brain to make sure that you can get to where you need to be. Now, you can see I'm not quite doing this to the best of my abilities. We've managed to keep third place so far. Obviously, Jack's still right behind us. You can't quite see him due to the shadows facing in the opposite direction and my camera only facing forward even when I'm looking over my shoulder. But Jack is right on our tail, and we also have Toby and Mark, who are beginning to race away into the distance at a considerable rate. And you can see I'm really not getting to grips with the S section at the end of the track. I'm finding it quite difficult to get the power down. I found the back end of the kart was slipping out quite a bit, which is why I just didn't really want to take a tight line or a more conventional racing line, just because I felt there was no grip there. And again, you can see how much steering lock I'm putting into the Sodi car, and it's just not turning the way I want it to. So I'm trying to take more of a normal line still. As I spoke to the marshals before the race, and they said to take a normal racing line. However, I just didn't find this to be sort of convenient to lap times. I didn't find it to be as quick compared to when I took different lines, which you will see later into the race. Now, we are a few laps in and we're still in third place at this point. Jack is still right behind us and giving us a lot of pressure, but again, we're just trying to take the narrower line just to ensure that he can't slip down the inside. You can see how much the back end is sliding out again with wheel spin on the exit of the corner, and it's only causing me to lose time, not only to the two guys up ahead but also to Jack behind us. And it was just a bit of a sort of section in the race where I felt like I was quite stuck, if I'm honest. We were losing time to the guys in P1 and 2, but we weren't actually losing any time to the guys behind us. So I was quite happy to be in third at this point in the race. Obviously, as I've mentioned at the beginning, we haven't actually lost any positions from where we started, and if we finished in this position, then we would be on for another or second podium of the year so far, which was more than making me happy enough. So I knew that I had a big battle with Jack to contend with first if I wanted to keep the position, and you can see that I am under a lot of pressure, looking over my shoulder once again, trying to almost drift my way through the S section, as I still could not find the quickest way to get through that section of the track. But we do come across the line with our fastest lap so far in the race, a 52.993. obviously still a little bit of the way off the pace, but obviously with the track conditions sort of changing this way and that throughout the whole race, it was very difficult to actually understand what was going on. Now, Jack actually managed to lunge it down the inside there on us, moving up into third momentarily, but unfortunately for him, as he went on the slippery bits of the track on the inside, he just carried a little bit too much speed going out of it, and that allowed us to pull off a switchback and move ourselves back up into third. So at this point now, I knew that the race was going to be on, and that I would have to really keep my head in the game, keep the concentration level high if I wanted to keep third place. Obviously, it's a 30-minute race. Anything can happen in 30 minutes. I could hit the brakes too hard. This could cause us to spin out, and we could lose the position that way. But I didn't want this to happen, so we just had to keep our head down, keep cool, and try and preserve the position as best that we could. Again, we're not taking the tightest line that we can, even though the track is drying out, just because, as you saw with Jack there, going on the inside of the corner just led to absolutely no grip. You can see he didn't try and resend it much like he did on the previous laps. I think he understood this as well. So again, we're trying to take a little bit of a wider approach into the corners, trying to hit the apex to ensure that we don't get switched back. And up ahead, you can see that Toby and Mark are having an absolute great battle with one another for first place. You can see that Toby's trying to go up the inside of Mark there, coming into the last couple of corners, but again, Coming back to us, we have Jack, who is now trying to go up the inside as we go into the last couple of corners on ourselves. Instead, I'm able to sort of hang it round the outside, which then turns to the inside, able to park it on the apex and maintain the position once more. So we are slowing each other down with this battle, and obviously Mark and Toby are having a battle up ahead, but I think Jack wanted to try and take the position off of us if he had the opportunity to. So you can see they're panicking a little bit as we got a little bit wayward going into the first corner there, losing the back end. And again, I was just trying to sort of hold the middle of the track more to the inside, just to ensure that Jack wasn't able to make the pass on us. You can see there how much grip I was getting from going a little bit wider into the corner rather than turning straight to the apex. And by doing this, it was just allowing the sort of tyres to bed into the parts of the track where there wasn't as much rubber, where it wasn't as greasy, and I was getting way better rotation in comparison to using full lock and just sort of drifting, much as I have done for most of the race so far. And again, we're coming into the last couple of corners. Toby's now managed to make the pass on Mark up ahead, and I was hoping that if we were any closer that we'd be able to join in and sort of catch up a little bit, but instead we were unable to. But we were trying our best now at this point. Come across the line of our fastest lap so far, a 52.936 second lap, which I was really happy with, running the track out as wide as we can, not trying to get on too many of the curbs. Obviously, as I mentioned, they were very slippery and they just caused the back end of the kart to sort of squirrel on the exit, and this meant we were just going to lose time. You can see now that with a little bit less pressure from Jack behind me, I'm checking over my shoulder still, I'm going deeper and deeper into the corners on each one of the laps, just to ensure that I can get that rotation done as early as possible so I can sort of exit the corner in a straight line. You can see I'm trying to go deeper once again, right up to the sort of limit of the track, and that's obviously where the grip is. I was finding the grip quite well by doing that, and again I was just trying to do it again on the S section here. You can see I'm trying to go a little bit wider into the corner. We do take a bit of a shunt from behind from Jack. I think he was trying to go up the inside there on the second part of the last sort of couple of corners, but we managed to hold the position. And I thought at this point in the race, if I could just keep it to the outside of the track and keep going deeper, even if he tries to sort of slide his way up the inside, he was just going to lose all grip. So this is the sort of the turning point in the race where I felt if I kept going deeper into the corner and just really trying to run more of a straight angle coming out of the corners, that I would get less wheel spin, I'll get better drive, and this would allow me to sort of break away from him. So you can see here, this is where the momentum sort of switches quite a bit. Again, you can see I'm trying to go deeper into the corner, trying to ensure I can get the wheel as straight as possible on exit. I'm looking over my shoulder here at this point, but we were actually now starting to almost pull a bit of a gap on Jack, who was behind us. So you can see again, trying to dip my tyre to right on the right hand side there as we exit the last couple of corners, and that just gives me way better drive going into the first corner. Again, we're going really deep into the first corner just to ensure we get the rotation done. Jack tries to go up the inside, but as I mentioned, you just didn't have enough grip on the inside line to sort of make a move work. So he was getting side by side with me, but because I was getting better drive out of the corner, it just allowed me to keep the position no matter if he was alongside or not, because his kart just wasn't quite getting the drive out of the corner that mine was from going to the more grippy sections of the track. Here I was trying to sort of hit the curb on the inside, but due to the understeer I found myself sort of drifting a little bit wide. And you can see here again, I'm not using as much steering angle through this section of the track just because it was drying out bit by bit. So there was parts of the track where I was still going a little bit wider to try and find the grip, and other sections of the track where I was taking sort of a more conventional racing line. So it was a bit of a mixture as we come across the line once again, very close to our fastest lap so far, only a couple of thousandths off with a 52.943. However, we are going to jump forward in the footage now at this point, because from that moment on, I just sort of managed to break away from driving the wetter lines. The rain came down a little bit more, and you can see up ahead we have actually managed to close up on Mark Puxty, who was in second. Toby's managed to run off in first place. He's got that secured, and you can see we're really using the limits of the wet line now at this point. Obviously the clouds have come back over, it's begun to rain a little bit more, and I thought that if I could just continue to use the wet line, even when it was dry I was using the wet line, even if I could use the wet line a lot more now that it is wet, it really allowed me to begin to reel in Mark and maybe even size up a move for second position as we come to the latter stages of the race. And obviously as the race went on, I was becoming more and more comfortable with the kart once again in these conditions, and obviously the track layout in these conditions, and it was just helping me to sort of gain time on Mark every corner. I don't know if he just found driving the normal lines was quicker for him, but I found by driving a bit of a longer line but a more of a wet line, that I was just catching him bit by bit, and I don't know if he took his foot off the pedal because he thought that he had second place secured, but again, you can see we're taking a bit of a wide line and we're getting so much of a better run coming out of the first corner there by going wider. Again, we're going really deep into the bank corner, coming under the bridge, and just trying to carry our momentum with the additional grip on the outside line. Again, you can see how quickly the kart is rotating by finding that grip on the outside of the track, and it's just causing us to catch up more and more through every single part of the track. And up ahead is actually one of the drivers who was being lapped. We have Charlie Foster up ahead of us who was being lapped. He was in last place, so I knew that at this point, if any sort of time there was going to be where I was going to be able to catch up, it would be now, if he was getting held up by the driver who was at the back. Now you can see I'm trying to take a bit of a wet line there, but unfortunately I think I understood at this point that taking the wet line through that section of the track wasn't actually any quicker. In fact, I was actually losing time, so the wet line was sort of working everywhere else bar the last couple of corners. You can see that Charlie's now realised that Mark's behind him. He's waving him through, and I knew that if I was going to come through, I'd have to do the same thing again. So even though Charlie's there, I've gone really deep into the corner, say thank you to him for letting us go past without any issues. And now we're right on the back of Mark. You can see just what I'm talking about in terms of drive out of the corner. We are almost in touching distance of second place now in this race, right up behind him, and I couldn't be happier from the distance we were behind him. I believe we were about 4 or 5 seconds behind him earlier in the race, so the fact we were able to catch this time back up was incredible to me. And again, I was looking for a move down the inside, but decided that as it was wet, I just thought I wouldn't quite have the grip coming out of the corner. See, again, I'm trying to dip my tyre on the right hand side just to try and get better drive out of the corner. We come across the line of 52.881, and here is a prime example of how much of a better drive I was getting out of the corner. He goes really narrow there to try and defend, and instead by taking the wetter line, we're able to almost get a switchback confirmed. But obviously as we're on the inside coming into the bank corner here, we just didn't quite have the grip. He's able to sort of hang it around the outside, but again, we just go really deep and really wide into this next corner. He goes quite tight, and it causes him just to slip out a little bit wide, and with the additional drive we get from going on the wet line, we actually managed to move our way up into P2, which I was really happy with, and I couldn't believe that I was able to sort of catch up to him. Now you can see I'm not going defensive immediately. Obviously, as I mentioned with Jack earlier, just from going wider and taking a wider line, we were able to get a better run out of the corner, and we continue to do this for the remainder of the race, much like we did with Jack, and this meant that we finished the race in P2. Now unfortunately, the rest of the video does actually corrupt for some reason, which is really annoying, but we are going to jump into some post-race thoughts now, so I'll catch you guys there. Okay then guys, so I'm currently recording this segment of the video a little bit later, and possibly a couple of weeks later compared to the end of the racing at Brighton, but I would like to say that I really had a great time at the track. Obviously we've been there for the second time now in a couple of weeks, and we came out with 2 fantastic results. Twice we've come in P2, really happy with it. Obviously Toby McAllister Brown was in first place in our race, and he's another member of the Vertice Racing team, so he was on the podium in first place, so I couldn't be happier to share it with him. And obviously we managed to get Mark Puxty right near the end there to take P2 and leave him in P3. So this really does heat up the title challenge for the pro class going into the last round at Thruxton. We've actually moved up into second position, and I'll leave the pro class results on the screen now. We've moved up into second place, 6 points behind Tyler, and Tiago is in third just behind us. Obviously we got Mark down the table still. He still has his double points to use at Thruxton, so we're hoping that he doesn't have a mega result and jump us as well. But overall, in the sort of overall standings, we've moved up into 7th position out of anyone that's taken part in Club 73 this year, and honestly I couldn't be happier with that result one bit. If you asked me that at the beginning of the year, I would have probably laughed in your face and said there's no way that's going to happen. But honestly, just from working hard, staying consistent with our results, we've managed to sort of sneak our way up there without actually winning a race. So unfortunately, the rest of the footage from that race sort of corrupted as I came off, turned my GoPro off. The last sort of 2 minutes of the race, me sort of celebrating coming in second place, did actually just sort of disappear off the camera, which I'm a little bit disappointed with. I've had a few issues with my camera recently, so I might have a look at upgrading it in the near future or trying to sort something out, because it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit. But that does in fact bring us to the end of the video, so I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, can you please leave a like on it down below, as I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, if you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe, as we have a whole host of videos coming very soon. I've got at least 3 in the works whilst I'm recording this, so we're going to have so much footage coming very soon, and it's all different variety of different things. We've got indoors, we've got owner karting, and we've also got the 8th round of the SRK Championship coming up soon as well. So in the meantime guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.